Today we're going to be talking about how you can create digital exhibit stickers in the new TRAL Director 360. So one of the first videos that I made when I was revamping the channel and kind of changing the focus was a video on how to make digital exhibit stickers. Now personally, if I ever get asked to apply digital exhibit stickers for a trial, I'm going to use that method, which relies on using stamps in Adobe Acrobat. That's just the method that I prefer, but it is a little bit cumbersome and a little bit technical, requiring you to copy a couple lines of code in a very specific place. Not hard to do. You could follow it step by step. You don't have to understand all the steps conceptually, but it can get a little bit confusing. TRAL Director 360 has a dynamic digital exhibit sticker tool that is pretty exciting. I tested it out while I was at the iPro Innovations earlier this year, and I'm going to go through how you can use it today. But first, what I want to talk about is the whole dynamic part. What it lets you do is once you apply the digital exhibit stickers, if you then later go back and change your exhibit names, let's say you removed an exhibit or you want to renumber some exhibits, you don't have to go and reapply the stickers. It automatically changes for you anytime you make that change. So that's really nice. You only have to apply the sticker once, and then after that, whatever you change the exhibit numbers to, it's automatically going to update those changes. So really powerful tool there. Very, very convenient. So let's go through how to do that. I'm going to do that this week by creating the case. Now, last week was my first video on TRAL Director 360. It was kind of my early review, my initial thoughts. There was a lot to cover, and so I really wanted to kind of just get into the nuts and bolts of the app. But this week, since we're going to be going over how to make the digital exhibit stickers, I'll start by making a case from scratch, and we'll go from there. So let's get TRAL Director 360 open. Now, when you initially open the app, it's going to put you into the case manager. Let's go ahead and create a case. We'll hit that button here, and it's a lot like a little bit of a mini wizard. And so we'll give it a case name. We'll call it exhibit sticker example. All the rest of the information that's here is optional. You don't have to do it. In all of these different menu and options that come up next, there's asterisks that make it look like you have to fill in all this information, but you totally don't have to. You can just hit next a whole bunch of times and create your case. All that other information, if you want to add it, can be added later. Once it tells you it's complete, let's close that, and then we'll go to the evidence section and start working in there. And once you double click on a case for the first time, you're going to have just an empty shell of a case. And so we're going to have to add some documents. I'm only going to add in a couple of documents at a time just for right now. There is a batch import process that does take a little bit of time, and just for the interest of this video, I'm only going to do 6 exhibits for us to work with. Once I've got them added, I'll hit next. And what I always do is I'll go with starting with, just to make sure that the exhibit numbers and the pages are correct. And you can hit that little preview button there so you can see what are the individual pages going to be numbered. And I will hit add. Now, a quick side note, I just got off the phone with a product manager at iPro talking about some of the issues that I brought up in the original video. If you haven't seen that one and this is your first time looking at TRAL Director 360 and want to know more, hit the link in the description. After getting off the phone with him, he had told me that this is one of the issues that they're working on, this whole naming system. They're going to make it so it works a little bit better and a little bit smoother. So now we have those 2 documents in there. Then I'm going to go and navigate to where the PTXs and JTXs are. And the reason why I use this starting with instead of just using the file name is because if I look at the preview, because this ends in a number, TRAL Director wants to sequence it. And so all the pages get named 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but that's not what they are. 001 refers to the first page of Exhibit 1, and this should be 001 page 2. And so the only way to get that right now is to get to the starting with. I'll start it with 001. And now when I look at it, it gives me 001, page 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so this little kind of like workaround is the thing that they are working on right now. So that should be changed soon. And I've gotten a lot of assurances from a couple of different layers of people at iPro that in fact the way that it is going to work is that as issues like this arise, updates will be worked on and pushed out relatively quickly, so you're not going to be waiting long times in between updates, so little fixes can happen really quickly, so that's very encouraging for me to hear. All right, so I've got that in there, and now I'm waiting. You can see my document batch on the right-hand side of the screen in terms of what's still being worked on. And so the DTXs are in there, and the PTXs are getting processed, and the JTXs are getting processed as well. One of the things that I wish would happen is, I wish that there was a way that even if it's not done processing, I could still look at and work with an exhibit. Frequently what happens to me at trial is someone will email me a document while an exam is going on, and I got to put that into my case file and then be able to publish it almost instantly. And so this little delay can be a problem, especially if that last minute exhibit is a big one. So hopefully that's something that they'll be able to fix soon as well. So we'll just wait for these to finish importing. While we're waiting, one of the things that I will say is that whenever I get exhibits that are named as like DTXs, PTXs, and JTXs, I always rename them and renumber them, because some people put DTX dash and then a whole bunch of numbers, or PTX and all that. I like to shorten it to just P or D in the front and nothing for the joint trial exhibits, with the idea that the joint trial exhibits are the ones that are going to be used most frequently, probably. And then PTX and DTX, I shorten that because I want to be able to blind type things. In other words, instead of dragging and dropping or selecting from a list and dragging something in to be published, I just want to be able to type in, say, P001-0010 if I want to go to page 10, and just hit enter and pull it up that way. That's just a faster way that I like to work. So every time you eliminate the TX from any of the exhibits, that's 2 extra keystrokes that you can eliminate. It doesn't sound like much. It sounds like a lot of extra work to be able to rename those, but there are batch renaming tools. Let me know in the comments if you want a quick tutorial on the batch renaming tool that I use in order to take hundreds, if not thousands of exhibits and take out, say, a TX dash from all of those in a very quick and automated fashion. All right, so now all our exhibits are in there. So now I'm gonna assign the trial exhibit numbers, and the way that I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna do the different categories of exhibits at a time. So I'll do the JTXs first, then the PTXs, then the DTXs. And so I'll select the 2 JTXs first, right click, and then hit assign trial exhibit numbers to selected items. And then I could tell it what the first exhibit should be named, and then the rest will come in sequence after it. So the first one is going to be JTX 001, and then I'll tell it that's the first one. And then this checkbox here, increment by page, I'm going to leave off, because I don't want to give trial exhibit numbers to every single page. I only want to give the trial exhibit numbers to the first page of each exhibit, and then I'll hit save. Once it does that, I'm gonna expand this part of my work area so I could see the trial exhibit numbers, and I could see it's added in as JTX1 and JTX2. And then just to confirm, I'm going to twirl down exhibit 2, and it's only given an exhibit just that first page, which is exactly what I want. I'll do it again for the DTXs. Leave that increment by page unchecked and let that run. And the DTXs have been labeled. I'll do the same thing for the PTXs. And there we go. The other thing to keep in mind, though, when you're using the system and the way that Trial Director 360 handles batch processes, if you have any skips in your numbers, for example, in my kind of sample case that I tend to work with, the PTXs go from 1 through 6, then number 7, or maybe it's number 8 gets skipped, then there's a number 9, and then 10 is skipped. Or there's a couple of numbers that skip, and I intentionally leave that in my case file just so that way we could deal with the very real scenario. Sometimes there are exhibit numbers that are skipped or left intentionally blank because maybe an exhibit has been removed or withdrawn from the time the list was originally made to the time that it actually gets kind of submitted to court. And so that's something that I encounter every time. I never have a case where it only goes from 1 through 500 and there's no skips at all. There's always something that's kind of unusual there that you have to keep an eye out for. That's really important when you're working with batch processes in Trial Director 360 because Trial Director 360 right now doesn't handle skip numbers very well. So now I can see that I have all the trial exhibit numbers that I want, and I can go to the first one and I'll double click on it so that I could see it in that work area, and I'll open up the annotations panel over here, and I can close this document patch because I'm not bringing in any more documents right now. So I'll close that. I can always reopen it if I want, but I have my annotations open, and at the bottom there is the option for exhibit labels, and this is a joint trial exhibit. And so the options that are there by default are government, defense, and plaintiff. Let's just use the government for now, so you can get an idea of what's going to happen. And I'll hit apply. And here it says, is showing me a JTX 001. It has gotten this number here from the trial exhibit number field that we just created. And it's putting trial exhibit, and it's got some other kind of case information that's in there. We can edit that, and I'll go to that next, but I wanted to show you what kind of the sticker looks like first. If I need to move it, because in this example, it seems to be covering up some information that might be useful or necessary. And so if you want to move it, you can't just click on it and drag it and move it. You have to come into this annotations area and hit edit. Then you get these little squares around the corners and sides. That's telling you now you're in edit mode and you can move it. You can resize it by grabbing it by a corner or grabbing it by a side. Unfortunately, there's no way that I can tell by hitting Shift, Control, or Alt, that's usually how you do it, to maintain the aspect ratio of the sticker. So when you're resizing it, if you think it's too big, you just kind of have to eyeball it, which is not all that comforting to me, but that's what you're gonna have to do. And then you can move it to the area that you want, whether that's at the bottom, or maybe there's just too much information at the bottom and you need to move it to the top. That's something that you can do as well. So let's leave this one here at the bottom, and then I'll hit save. Once I hit save, then I could see in this status column that there is an exhibit label that's been applied on there. Right, so now let me show you one other. I'll do it one more time. This time I'll do it with a defense exhibit so you can see what that looks like. There's another way that you can apply exhibit stickers. You can you don't even have to double click, but that's what I did. You can right click on an exhibit, and that same apply exhibit label option is there for you, so you can do that. And you just have to pick which label you want to use. This is a defense exhibit, so I'm gonna leave the defense exhibit there selected. It'll put it in the bottom right hand corner or whatever default you select in your preferences. And again, I don't like where it is. I think it's also a little bit too big. I'll hit edit, and then I can resize it to the dimension that I need. Now this, for example, this one, the format's a little bit different. It says defense trial exhibit, and then it gives me the number that auto populates from this trial exhibit number field. So whatever numbers you put in here, that's what gets put into your exhibit sticker, and there's some other case information on the bottom. Let's hit save just to save it there. But those aren't the final stickers that we want, and plus, I'm a little bit colorblind. I suspect a lot of men probably are as well, and they probably don't realize it. And so these colors are really hard for me to read. This, I don't know if that's blue or purple, it's one of the two. With the black text. So I want to edit my exhibit stickers. I also want to make sure that the case number information is correct, and that the text that's above the exhibit number itself is also what I want it to say. Is it defendants S apostrophe, defendant apostrophe S, that kind of thing. I want to make sure that's right. To do that, we have to go to the case manager. So we got to hit that hamburger button. We're going to come up to the case manager, and we're going to double click on our case that we've been working on. Here, this is where you can add all that information that I just skipped past when I created the case. All that information can be added here. This is where you would do it. The one that we're looking for right now is exhibit labels. So here we have a couple of defaults that Trial Director creates for us. We have defense, government, plaintiff. We can edit them, we can add new ones, we can change them up. I'm gonna go to the government one, and I'm gonna edit this label. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call it joint, because I'm gonna use it for joint trial exhibits. It's a civil case that I'm using as this hypothetical, so I don't need a government exhibit sticker. And I don't like this vanilla color. I wanna make it yellow. Right, so now we've got bright yellow. That's the color that I like. And here's where I can change all the information and completely customize this exhibit sticker to how I want it. And so for the joint trial exhibit, I don't want it to say trial exhibit number. So you got a couple options here. So you can have a source field, or you can have a caption field. A caption field is you want the same text to appear on every exhibit sticker. So the way I want to have this set up is I want it to say joint, and let's use all caps, joint, and let's make it, we'll leave it, we won't make it bold or italic, we'll leave it that way. You can change the font too if you want. I just like Arial font. Trial exhibit, that's fine. And the next thing that I want to have is the trial exhibit number itself. And so source is where do I pull information from? So that's the one that's going to change per exhibit. And so source is the trial exhibit number. The trial exhibit number field is where we put our trial exhibit numbers. You can also pull from the exhibit number field or from the common name field, wherever you're putting your information. Where we put it in this example that I've been walking you guys through is the trial exhibit number field. And at the bottom, if we have to put case information, we can do that. We can put in number, let's do that number 13-3057 or whatever the case number is, or if you have to put like, D Del or, whatever the case or the venue is, whatever the local rules are in terms of what the exhibit sticker has to have, you could put that in there. Now, when I'm looking at this preview area, I think what I would like to have is the trial exhibit number. I want that to be nice and big so it's easy to see, and I want it to be bold. Right, so now I've got that there, and this is looking pretty good to me. So I think that I'll leave that way, right? And ultimately, I think what's going on with the exhibit sticker when you make it, the font numbers are all kind of relative. So like 33, 27, it's not the same as 27-point font, because I think the default is the sticker only comes in one size. And so the sizes are just relative to each other. So I will leave this at 10, and then I'll probably make this a little bit smaller. That looks good to me. So I'll leave it that way. Maybe a little bit bigger, because I do want that number to pop in comparison to everything else, because that's the most important thing. I want the attorneys to be able to see it quickly, like at a glance, what that exhibit number is. So I'll hit save and close, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other ones. I will really quickly open this back up again just to remember my numbers, and maybe I'll even write it down. I did 14, 14, 24, and 10. And if you needed to, for whatever reason, add an additional line, you have an additional line that you can add there. So let's save and close that. Now let's go to the defendant's exhibit. I'm going to change this color. I'll use like a light blue for the defense. And instead of defense, I want to say defendants. Say there's multiple defendants. Trial exhibit. And then we'll say that imaginary case number that we used again. We'll do that. And then here's my numbers, 14, 14, 24, and 10. And I'll make the trial exhibit number bold, save and close. And I'll do the same thing for plaintiff. Plaintiffs I'd like to make nice and yellow as well. All right, so then I'll do plaintiff S apostrophe, just to change it up, just to let you guys know that you change it. There's nothing wrong with it saying plaintiff. And then I'll put the source here, trial exhibit number, and then the bottom I'll put in a caption of my imaginary case number. So that's going to be a 10-point font. This is 14, 14, 24, bold. All right. So now I've got my exhibit stickers that I want. One last thing that I will take a look at, let's open the plaintiff's exhibit sticker up again, is right here there are some defaults that you can change. Right? So you can change the number source. When you say source, is it coming from the page ID? Is it coming from the exhibit number? If you're in like a weird venue where they need an exhibit sticker on every single page of the document, then the page ID is something that you can use, and then you'll put it on every page. I don't know where it would do that. It's been a long time since I remember any of that happening. But trial exhibit number is a default, and that's probably what most of you guys will use. And then bottom right of the page, you can pick where you want by default the exhibit sticker to show up, but in reality you're probably going to be adjusting, no matter where it defaults, you'll probably be nudging it around a little bit anyway. So we'll leave that as it is. And now we're ready to go start applying our exhibit sticker. So now let's go back to our evidence section, and we'll open up our exhibit sticker example case. Now let's look down here, and one thing that you'll notice is, remember we had a joint trial exhibit sticker that didn't really fit, and a defendant's trial exhibit sticker that I couldn't see because I'm colorblind. And now, because the dynamic exhibit stickering thing happens in Trial Director C60, because I changed the exhibit sticker in the exhibit sticker editing area, it has automatically pushed those changes to the exhibit stickers, even though I've already applied them. So that's pretty cool. If you want to take a closer look, here's what it's going to look like. So I have the exhibit sticker nice and big. The number is easy to read. I still have all the other information that I need. And I noticed that I should have put a dash here versus an equal sign, but I'm just going to leave that the way it is for now. The other thing that I can do when I'm doing these is I can go through, double click on the first one and make it really quick. I can then see that this is a defense exhibit, hit apply, edit, move it to the spot that I need it to, hit save, and then I could just go to the next document in the list and march down that way. And so this is a plaintiff's exhibit. Let's put the plaintiff sticker on here, hit apply, edit if I need to move it. Now in reality, because in this case there were digital exhibit stickers already applied, but that default placement would have been pretty good. Although I do think it is buried a little bit too far down and a little bit too far to the right corner. But otherwise I wouldn't have to do any meddling with it at all. I can just shrink it down to the size that I need, move it to where I want it, and then hit save, and then go to the next one, and I can march down my list that way. Now there is a way to batch apply exhibit stickers. For example, if I wanted to come through here, and let's say, and I'll pick some short ones just to give you an example. Let's say I wanted to just use defense exhibits 1 and 2. Let's go ahead and remove, let me show you how to remove them too while we're at it. So let's say I have exhibit stickers and I no longer need them anymore. I can hit the edit button with this annotations panel open. Once I see the squares on the sides, I can right click on it and just remove the annotation and hit save. And then I'll do the same thing for page 2, edit, right click, remove the annotation, and then I'll hit save. Now let's say I wanted to try to do this in more of a batch process. I could select both of these and I can right click and apply exhibit labels, and I can even tell it which one I want it to pick. But unfortunately, this doesn't give me the exact behavior that I want. Now remember, when I was naming the exhibits and applying them, it gave me an option for increment page or not. It doesn't give me that option here, so by default it puts an exhibit sticker on every page of the document. And so if you look here, I have 14 pages now with a sticker on it, and for the ones that don't have this trial exhibit number data inside them, it just gives me a blank exhibit sticker. And so I don't really want that. I wish there were a way that I can just do the first page, just like I have the process already there for the trial exhibit number. And I'm assuming because they can do it for applying the trial exhibit number, I hope it's an easy fix to be able to do that for just the first pages of the exhibit stickers. The other problem with the exhibit stickers is if you accidentally do this, and let's say you accidentally do this, and I did this on some of the test kind of cases that I was working on preparing for this video, and you accidentally put 142 exhibit stickers on, there isn't a way to batch remove exhibit stickers. At least I haven't been able to find it. So if you want to go through and then remove them, your best bet is probably to just delete that exhibit entirely, re-import it, and start over, because as far as I know, there isn't a way to batch remove exhibit stickers. So you'll have to go through and come to page 2, edit, right click, remove, save. Then you can go to the next page here, edit, right click, remove, save, and so on. And so that's some of the things that you need to do. But again, remember, I was talking about how this is a dynamic process, and we already saw when I changed the template for the exhibit sticker, those changes were automatically pushed. I didn't have to do a single thing. So let's say someone comes in and says, it's not defendants anymore, S apostrophe, everyone else is settled but us, so we have to change it to defendant apostrophe S. I could do that in the exhibit sticker template area, and then the changes will automatically push. But let's say this exhibit changes from plaintiff exhibit 2 to plaintiff's exhibit 5. I can right click, go to the properties, and change the trial exhibit number to whatever it is. We'll hit 5, hit save. All right, so it is saved now and updated the new plaintiff's exhibit number, and it has already done that on the exhibit sticker below. So that's what I mean by dynamic exhibit stickering. It does it. It makes all the changes for you when you make a change. And so that's really helpful. So that way, what's normally a very meticulous and tedious process gets simplified at least a little bit. Now, the last portion of this is how do I print out copies of now the digital exhibit stickers, or let's say I have to exchange them. That's still a difficult process because we don't just need the exhibit stickers in Trial Director, we need them in PDF, so that way we can exchange it with the other side. We can also submit file stamp copies with the court if we need to file stamp them, or we can make print copies if we need to submit printed copies to the court. And so the way that you would do that, and there's a couple of different ways you can do it. I think the most straightforward way is to print all the exhibits. Now, this is a process that I think needs a little bit of work, but I think the best workflow, there's kind of two ways to approach it. If you've got a ton of exhibits, either way it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. But you can select all your exhibits, right click and print the items, and then you can tell it you want to do the images/pages and all the selected items, And you want to print with markups so that way it gets the exhibit stickers that you have on there. Hit next, and it gives you a summary of what you've chosen, and then hit print. Then a print dialog is going to come up based on all the exhibits that you've selected, and it'll give you a preview of what that's going to look like. Now this is a little bit of a time-consuming process, and so it's not something that you can do that quickly. It takes a little bit of time for it to compile and put together. All right, so here's that print preview. I'm going to maximize it, and you could select the printer you want. I would recommend just printing it to Adobe PDF, because that way then you could send that file to your print center if you're using a print center, or to Kinko's, or to whatever printer you want, and you can then keep working on your own computer. Once you have that all there, you can preview what the pages are going to look like. Yeah, you can advance through the pages like this, and then you'll hit this print. It was hard for me to find right away, but you'll hit the print button, and then since I'm printing to Adobe PDF, it's asking me what I want to print it as, and I'll just save it as whatever it's called, and I'll let that run. All right, so now it's finally all printed, and the one thing that you'll notice is I got one PDF that has all the pages put together in it. And so what you'll have to do is, if you need to separate these out to exhibit 1, 2, 3, and so on, you're going to have to open up the thumbnail viewer and split the documents out that way. And it did take quite a bit of time to do this. The other way to do it would be to print out each individual exhibit one at a time. So you do that, print the exhibit, and we'll do the same thing. All right, so we've got just JTX1 here by itself. It remembered my printer selection. I'm going to hit print, and I'll call it JTX0001 and print that. And so then I could do that individually for each exhibit, but even that's going to take a long time too. I don't know that there's a way to automate this process so that way each exhibit gets printed out individually. I think probably the best way to do this, if you're going to have to go through all this trouble, you're ultimately going to have to decide based on how many exhibits you have and how voluminous each exhibit is. If each of your exhibits is only like 2 or 3 pages long, I would say just select them all and print it into one big PDF and split it out later. But if your PDFs, some of them are thousands and thousands of pages long, which is what typically happens to me, I would probably recommend printing just the first page, because that's the only page that's going to have an exhibit sticker on it. Print just those first pages, and then replace the first pages of your existing PDFs with the stickered PDF, and that's what you're going to have to do if you need to make PDF copies that exist outside of Trial Director 360, or if you actually need to print copies with a color digital exhibit sticker, printed out onto paper. So that's what you're going to have to do. So that last mile of the process is still a little bit laborious, but you are saving a ton of time on the front end in terms of being able to apply the digital stickers dynamically based off of trial exhibit numbers that you can apply in a batch format. So here's my exhibit, and there's that beautiful exhibit sticker. And you could play around with font sizes. This one is not quite as big as I would want it, so I would play around with them to make sure that they're the exact way that you want them for your trials. But hopefully, though, we've gone through a couple of pinch points on it, and I know that the people at iPro are watching and being very responsive to some of the feedback that's coming up. So hopefully some of those pinch points can be smoothed out. It's already very user-friendly in terms of getting the stickers on there. I'm just hoping now we can make the process a little bit faster in terms of the other things you might need to do besides just putting the exhibit sticker on. And because the people at iPro are watching here, if you have any other feature requests or have been running into issues when you're using Trial Director 360, feel free to put them in the comments or email me, or you can DM me on Twitter or Instagram and contact me and let me know the issues that you're running into. And so hopefully we can all work together and make sure that this product does exactly what we need to do. I'm very encouraged by the level of responsiveness that I've seen from iPro. So I'm very optimistic in terms of where this product is going. If you have any other feedback or questions, feel free to put them in the comments, whether they're about exhibit stickers or not. If it's a more general Trial Director question, I'd love to talk to you guys about this down there.